Welcome back, everybody, to the Chris Salcedo Show. We've heard a lot of outrageous things from the left about the communist China spy balloon this week, but I think the View's Whoopi Goldberg takes the cake. Watch.
I think that was the right diplomatic call.
Well, you know, listen, we spy on them, they spy on us, we find out stuff, they find out stuff, you know, and the world keeps going around.
Okay, so Whoopi has no problem with a racist, genocidal slave state gathering intelligence on our country. My next guest is someone who kind of does have a problem with it. President of Project Sentinel, former National Security Advisor for Trump in 2020, and retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schafer. Great to see you, Colonel. The Pentagon admitting they knew about the China spy balloon since January 28th when it flew over the Aleutian Islands. They said the balloon wasn't gathering any information the Chinese weren't already getting from satellites, so it wasn't worth the risk of shooting. What risk of shooting it down? This is the same Pentagon that's changing its story on supposed Trump-era balloons. I mean, from the time they rolled it out over the weekend till today. Is this Pentagon under Joe Biden credible to you, Colonel?
No, it's being directed by Jake Sullivan, who is the guy who does the propaganda for this administration and previous ones. And frankly, Joe Biden knew about this a week ago Saturday. Let me say something I've said on the network already. The Pentagon had options, Chris, to safely de-sky the balloon using airborne lasers. You know, we've invested billions in these airborne lasers for ICBMs, really fast-moving rockets. Chris, this would have been easy to do precise strikes with just a few pinholes and bring it down slowly in a controlled way. They could have put it down within 1 square mile and sealed it off. So what we see is the worst possible scenario. And I'm sorry, Whoopi Goldberg is the font of all idiocity as far as I'm concerned, because it wasn't about collection. It was about intimidation. This was meant to show the complete feckless nature of the Biden administration. President Xi and the PRC military wanted to show that we are incapable of adequately and effectively responding to a provocation. This was a provocation. So, Chris, my answer would have been to go with my colleagues who had made this recommendation, apparently, in the Pentagon, to say, let's take this down, show that they can intimidate us, bring it down so we can examine it in pieces. What you saw over the Atlantic this past weekend was a very expensive PR stunt to trying to recover the perception using millions of dollars of technology ineffectively to have this grand show of shooting this thing down and destroying the evidence of the Biden administration's feckless policies regarding China.
That is so key what you just said. But let me unpack a couple of things you just said, because some of this is new information maybe for the audience.
It is.
So we can confirm that Joe Biden's administration saw the balloon coming before it entered U.S. airspace, and they made the conscious decision, perhaps because Antony Blinken was heading over to communist China, they made the conscious decision to allow the spy balloon to come in and spy. That's number one. Number two, you are telling me it was within our technological capability to pierce this balloon, to bring it down in a controlled fashion to where we could have had all of its technological riches, whatever is on board, at our disposal on a controlled landing. It could have been ours, but this administration decided not to do it. Now, all of this sounds to me, Colonel, like this administration is deferential and doesn't want to anger their friends over in communist China. Am I reading it wrong?
That's correct. And the guy in charge, Blinken, you alluded to, Blinken was the guy, the bag man for the Penn Biden Center, who received $24 million during the time that President Trump was in office to run their think tank. Considering the fact that Blinken has shown deference over and over to China, every time there's been a confrontation, he's folded. He's being very Chamberlain-like, if I could pull a figure out of history to compare him to and be polite about it. The more you show weakness like Blinken's doing, the more you're going to ensure, Chris, antagonism and aggressive behavior from China. So simply put, Blinken, I think, has taken money, is bought off by China, as is Joe Biden. They've shown this deference, chose to not take any adequate and effective military option to take the balloon down safely in one piece to examine it. They chose to not do that. And they're trying to now save face by saying, oh, the Trump administration had the same issue. They didn't. And we chose a military option to show fortitude. They did not. This was all for domestic consumption, and that's what they did it for.
First, Team Biden told us the 3 balloons entered U.S. airspace under Trump's watch to excuse their inaction. Then they said they discovered the fact that they had entered into our airspace after Trump had left office. That's why none of you guys in the Trump administration or advising Trump administration knew about it. Now we hear the Trump-era balloons didn't actually, according to the Washington Post, didn't actually enter the U.S. airspace, but they came, quote, near the border. What do you make of this ever-changing narrative of the Trump-era balloons?
Again, this is simply trying to muddy the water. Again, let me be very clear on this. This is Jake Sullivan instructing the Pentagon to include all the senior officers and all of the PR, the public affairs folks, to say something. Now, it's being proven over and over and over that it's a lie, but it has already muddied the water. They got us talking about it, for goodness sake. So we need to return to the message, 2 things. First, anything the Biden White House says is a lie. I think that's the first assumption to always go with, unless they can prove otherwise. And at this point, it is, and otherwise, it is what it appears to be. A balloon that was sent here could have collected this intelligence other ways, was sent here to be a provocation. That provocation was successful because the very technology that's available to us that we developed, we spent billions of dollars on, wasn't used because it wasn't showy enough for the Biden administration to say that they were taking strong and decisive action well after the fact.
Well, we're out of time now, but the next conversation we probably should have is what happens the next time Communist China, and, maybe we can ask Whoopi what she thinks the next time they decide they want to send an EMP, a suitcase nuke, or China virus 2.0 on the next balloon trip over. Is she going to be, hey, you know what, they bomb us, we bomb them, whatever. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schafer, sir, appreciate the time.